Amarantus is a messy relationships and revolution visual novel about going on a road trip with your messy friends to overthrow the tyrant running the country. You play as a character named Arik, who group gets together his ragtag friends and some new strangers to navigate a bunch of messy relationships on your road trip across the country.
We've got a bit of a Canberra crew here, from what I understand, and Hanif and Ruqiyah, I believe you know each other pretty well.
How did we meet?
We actually met when our parents brought me back from the hospital at the moment of my birth. Known each other pretty well over the last 20-something odd years.
I've been a huge fan of Hanif's music ever since he started doing guitar lessons in primary school.
Ruqiyah, were you making games as a kid?
Oh no, I was writing stories. I'm more of a story person than a games person, I would say. I have this belief that every story has the perfect medium for it to be delivered in. So, like Amarantus, for example, I originally wrote like as a story, and I wrote scenes out. And then eventually, as I discovered visual novels, I was like, oh, this is a visual novel. Music is incredibly important to visual novels because visual novels are... The power of a visual novel is that it's a combination of art, music, and text. Like, it's the fact that it's the intersection of these three things. Every beloved visual novel has a beloved soundtrack. The one that immediately comes to mind is Necrobarista. That soundtrack was incredible, and that sets the scene. The soundtrack establishes the vibe like nothing else.
The place we decided to start was with character themes. It was having these long discussions about who the main characters were, what were their personalities, their motivations, their relationships with other characters, and then going, all right, how does that translate to a song? And at the time, because the visual novel wasn't even in a playable form, I think it was a script or even vague ideas at that point, I was not at all thinking about how that would be implemented in a game. I had been writing songs for a video game with no idea how to write songs for a video game. I knew a bit of songwriting, I knew what my style was, but I had completely neglected to think about implementation up to that point, and that had really set us back.
So how did you overcome that? You think that was through working with Nick?
I offloaded the work to Nick.
It was fun. It was really fun, actually. There was a lot of experimentation and a lot of hours. Because I think the limitations of the software at the time, I spent many hours trying to figure out how to convert these beautiful flowing songs, because there's a lot of reverb and things that just bleed over, and then make them loop without having the ability to, have reverb tails begin at the start of a loop and all these things, all the things you can do now in audio middleware like Wise or Fmod. I was really excited to try to make it more dynamic, and I remember I was very grateful because Ruqiyah, you spent precious dev time experimenting with Ren'Py and trying to bend it towards something that was a little more dynamic, so that you have scenes where it would just loop the intro of the track, and then you'd make a decision and it ramp up into the verse that was slightly higher intensity.
The music I was creating at that time feels like Canberra music to me, just because that was my life at the time. That was the experience I was going through, was the typical Canberra experience of having everyone you've grown up with leave as soon as they reached university age, and you have to develop another hobby to fill that void. In my case, that was music. So to me, the post-rock music I was creating at the time is intrinsically linked to that experience of being in Canberra and having all your friends leave.
It's a classic Canberra problem.
Being involved in Amarantus, like Ruqiyah was saying, having everyone on the team feeling like they had some influence over the game beyond just, the product that they were directly contributing to it was a real privilege. It was amazing to feel like we were all part of a team that was creating something together. Even if I have to concede Ruqiyah was the mastermind.